One last thing I'd like to say is that we often tend to demographics questions on surveys. And one of the things that we talked about, too, is thinking about the messages that we send with the questions that we ask. And, for example, it's very common in museums to ask, and other, I think, arts organizations, what is your education level? What is your income level? What are you really going to do with that information? And if you know it, that's great. But also think about, what does this send to our visitors? Does this send a message that maybe you have to have a certain level of one of those things? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But really putting yourselves in the shoes of the survey taker and thinking about what messages are we sending with the questions that we ask. So that was a very long, short answer to that question, but I just want to emphasize that there really are a lot of dimensions. It doesn't make it impossible to do, but just encouraging you to be really thoughtful about it. And we're going to be sharing the instrument that we developed at the Smith Symposium for the attendees that they can take and use. So a lot of work has gone into that along these ways.
One of the points that you mentioned was the challenge between the idea of collaboration and the bottom line. How did you navigate that successfully within each organization that you worked with?
You know, it's an ongoing navigation. Collaboration is kind of like technology, where we think it makes our lives a lot easier, but it doesn't always work out that way. Collaboration takes a lot of work, and it often takes extra resources. But once you can get it going, the results of what you can achieve by using it are so much greater than what you can otherwise. So it's sort of constantly keeping that framework in mind. One of the things that I've really come to appreciate about collaboration and the cultural partnership is, because we have 26 member institutions, you saw the list of ways in which we collaborate. Everyone doesn't participate in everything. They just don't have the bandwidth or even the interest. But because we have a big pool who are working with us, we can get a critical mass to move that project that collaborative project forward. And then with a lot of things, you have the early adopters and the later adopters. You might get something going, and then other institutions will join on. If you're trying to do collaboration with like 3 organizations, it can work, but it can be limited to what they can all handle at one time. If you're looking to sort of build in an ongoing fashion the sort of broader community you have, the more you can pull from. Does that help answer?
You showed a list of all of the different groups that are going to be involved in the upcoming symposium. Mm-hmm. And my question about that is, how did all of those groups come together? Like, what was the sort of initial hub that brought people from those areas together? And my other question is specifically with the Balboa Park Learning Institute. You said that it kind of started out as a group of people thinking about it, then the directors of these organizations thinking that it would be worthwhile. Was it the directors together who thought of it, or was it sort of different staff from these organizations that came together? I'm curious if it was like a lower, or like the lower staff, or if it was like the directors who thought to put it together.
I'm going to start with your second question first, because I think it's a really interesting thing in human nature. It depends on who you talk to. Who thinks they had the brilliant idea of doing this? And I think it's one of those things that is, make them think it's their idea. It wasn't an all-director thing. It was staff really sort of raising these ideas, but then through communication, I wasn't there at that time, so I don't know, and it's funny because I've tried to sort this out myself, because there were different groups and thinkers and individuals that contribute to this concept. And one of the beautiful things is that they all take ownership of it now. But I don't know exactly where it started. But I know enough to know that it wasn't just a top-down decision. It was something that was raised up. But our leadership really takes ownership of it now. So that's question 2. This goes back to, I think Joan was talking about it earlier, about the networking. I happened to I serve on the board of the Museum Educators of Southern California, which I got involved with. I moved here from D.C. in 2006 and was going back to school for the nonprofit leadership and development, but I didn't have a job or anything, and was just looking to get to know the community and got involved with MESC. And then, so I know now the types of learning opportunities they're looking to create and the types of things that they're interested in at an AAM, the AAM, the American Association of Museums conference. Someone who is my mentor put me in touch, connected me with the executive director of the California Association of Museums, and through conversation we realized we were thinking the same thing. She also, the same mentor, connected me with somebody from Cultural Connections, California Exhibition Resources Alliance. Same thing, conversation. They knew the Cultural Connections people, and then I knew the San Diego. It was informal, and it was people talking and saying, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? And knowing and saying, okay, well, you and you and you, why don't we just do this together? So it was a very organic and emergent process.
I was wondering, do you find it preferable to do a lot of your talking face-to-face or online, or what do you think? Do you have any recommendations? Do you prefer face-to-face with people, or because of the technology, do it through teleconference or something?
For networking purposes?
Yes, or just what you do in general.
Practically speaking, we have to use all mediums. I don't know if any of you there's a free conference call service you can use, which is great. Everybody just dials into the same number. Use that a lot. I'm a big believer in face-to-face. And I think at least at some point in building connections with people, there has to be that moment to really connect. And even in learning, we balance this, what we call blended learning, sort of using technology and sort of in person. So the nice thing about connecting with people that are more spread out is you're connecting with people who are more spread out. You don't always have that luxury, but I would say, it's everything. I think it's always best if you can have a chance to talk with somebody face to face and sort of make that connection. And then everybody's so busy and spread out that email and conference calls sort of come into play. But I've been using Skype a lot more lately too. How many of you use Skype in your work? Yeah. So I don't know if does that answer your question? Okay. So I can't come to LA and not show my Gen X age and not have some fun, kitschy Hollywood reference. So I grew up with The Price is Right in the Bob Barker days, and always loved the excitement of what you were going to get at the end of the show in the showcase. My little showcase for you today is I would love for you to be a part of the Smith Symposium that will be on November 8th. And if you see those letters up in the top left, that is a very special VIP code for you all today for sharing your time here to learn and to develop yourselves as professionals. You can use this code to get $10 off of the registration, which the main registration cost it's $65 for a full day. That includes breakfast and lunch, access to these materials, including an article by John Falk that hasn't been published yet, time with your colleagues, and a chance to participate in this blended learning experiment. And also, if you register in groups of 3 or more, you get an additional 10% off. So I just want to alert you to that opportunity. Just please note that the code is case sensitive, and you go through all the registration steps before it comes up on the last sort of payment page. It says little coupon code block, and you can use this. So if everybody has that written down, and please don't go selling it on eBay or distributing it around. This is just for you. And I don't know how many of you have been to the symposium website. It's www.learningtimes.net/B as in boy, P as in Paul, C as in cat, P as in Paul, which stands for Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. And this will tell you more about what's happening on that day. You can see you can join in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Jose, or online. All these program partners and also our other supporters as well. The schedule will go through the day, and each of the convening sites has specific breakout sessions. So in Los Angeles at MoCA, Bob Sane, I don't know how many of you probably all know him, the former director of LACMA Lab, he's going to be the moderator for the Los Angeles site, and he's also going to do a breakout session in the afternoon in the galleries, as well as Jean Hull from the Contemporary Art Museum, who's going to be doing something based on Nina Simon's work. And if you scroll down to breakout sessions, you can learn more about them. And then also Salvador Acevedo, who I mentioned earlier, one of the main speakers, who talks about building relationships with diverse audiences and moving beyond demographic generalizations about, like, your Latino audience. That's much more complex. He will be in San Diego, but we'll be webcasting his breakout sessions, so that will be one of the options as well. And when you register, you put your preferences, list your preferences for the sessions, and you'll get to do 2 out of the 3. So when you go to the registration page, you click on LA, whether you're in a group or individual, and the rest you can take it from there, but it'll walk you through. But I just wanted you to know about that opportunity to continue your learning. So thank you very much.